Well, yeah. What would you like
whatever.
to talk about today?
So,
What should we
oh,
talk
I
about?
don't know. I thought today I was looking at like just stuff about like tarot cards and oracle cards and affirmations and any kind of like tools and things that people can,
Tools are really
use to.
powerful. Even though I can connect to spirit in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
I've always found I began, quite frankly, back in the day with numerology
Hmm.
because I found that the science of numerology, of numbers, everything in the universe is mathematical, right?
Right.
Therefore, numbers have the strongest influence on people. And I find that if I look at a person's full name and
Hmm.
if I look at their month, day, and year of birth, I've got a lot of information about what they chose when they came. And to look at that in a more scientific way, when in numerology, when a person's born, what they inherit, they're raised, their environmental conditioning comes from their last name.
Hmm.
Because they're born into that family, they're taking on the name of that family. So that's the conditioning. That's what they chose to be born into. The name they chose for themselves for their lifetime in that life is their first name.
Hmm.
So that first name, even though the parents gave it to them, believe it or not, that soul had a lot of influence on the parents on mainly the first letter of the first name. So
Hmm.
if you look at the first letters that are ones, which yours is, so is mine,
Hmm.
these are always going to be original people.
Hmm.
They're going to be unique. They're going to be originals because it's the number of independence. It's a number of creating something new. And
Hmm.
so it could have not been Jonathan, but it could have been James. It could have been Joel. But the key is that first letter. Then the middle name is the balance point. It's the balance between how you live, the environment you were born into,
Hmm.
and take yourself to it. So it kind of helps you harmonize what you inherit versus who you are. That makes sense?
Hmm. Sure.
And so I love to look at numerology and dissect it out because that's where I find the master numbers and that's where I find a lot of the past life skills, and I also find the lessons there. Because if you take all the letters of the full name, first, middle, and last, and you lay them out, you're going to have a lot of certain numbers and you're going to be missing certain numbers.
Right.
And one of the most common ones that is missing in many people's names, and it's missing in mine, it's not missing in yours, is F, O, and X are sixes.
Hmm.
And a lot of names do not have an F, an O, or an X in them.
Hmm.
And that's the number of love, harmony, responsibility. So many people work on that their whole life, learning and understanding love. And it's a very common one to be missing. And you can take numbers into the Kabbalah, which comes from the Hebrews in Judaism, is an advanced form, contained within it is an advanced form of numerology. And years and years ago, before they released the Kabbalah for people to study, they used to think people would go mad if they read it and tried to understand it. And so that's why it wasn't released to the public for a long, long time.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
it takes numbers into their advanced form. So that, in just basic numerology, you just go numbers 1 through 9 and repeat. Right? So the first 9 letters of the alphabet are 1 through 9, and then the second, so the 10th to the 18th, you go back to 1 through 9, and then the 19th to the last letter is 1 through 8, right?
Right.
But
Makes
in the
sense.
advanced form, higher numbers are assigned to letters. Like a K, instead of being a 2, is an 11, okay? And then the 6 down the road, like the O, becomes a 33 instead of a 6. So, and then when you look at the advanced form, you can get even more information. And when I was first doing this way, way, way back when, because I trusted numerology, and I still was not quite astute in astrology yet, I had a client who worked for National Semiconductor, and he put my program on a computer and brought me reams. Back in those days, you got these reams that folded into each other from these mainframe computers, right?
Right. Right.
And so, I'd have a ream about 2 inches thick on each person. And I could dissect it right out. and look at their life and just tell them so much stuff about themselves, they were blown away because it just came to me naturally. And that was what gave me the impetus, by the way, to go into the study of astrology, as I wanted to know, give people more information about themselves, because I still didn't trust information given to me yet. I wasn't that trustworthy of it. So I went through almost all of the oracles. Tarot decks, I have tarot decks, and the only thing I'm going to say to people about tarot decks, like Ouija boards, is you have to be very careful how you interpret them. Because if your person pulls the devil card or the death card, they freak out.
Right.
Immediately. And the thing to look at, what the devil card really means is what's bedeviling you. What keeps coming up in your life over and over and over again that you haven't learned. Right? And the death card just means the ending of something and so that you can begin something new.
Right.
It doesn't mean dying necessarily.
Yeah, people take it a little bit too much at face value, I think.
And that's why I have a tendency to use the Osho's Zen tarot deck, because I find it more optimistic for people. And many times, like when I'm reading tarot cards for a person, I'll turn around and say, now, what do you see in that card? And when I'm doing that, I really like the Crowley deck. The Crowley deck has got more going on in the major arcana cards, and all the cards really, than almost any deck. The artist that created those cards really incorporated so much. But Crowley was a very, very, he was probably part of the Illuminati. He goes back. A lot of people do not like the energy of Crowley, which I don't blame them. The artist, though, wasn't part of that. She was very, very open. And so I will use many times the pictures on the card and turn it around and say, in knowing your life, what do you see in that card? And it's powerful because people can do their own readings sometimes that way. The easiest oracle for many people to use, and the only oracle that will give you a yes or no, is the Viking. The runes. The Viking runes. Because the runes, you can get an actual yes or a no from it. It's the only one that you can actually get a yes or a no from. Right? Everything else gives you information that can lead you to a yes or lead you to a no, but you don't get an absolute yes or a no. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese form of interpretation, right? And then dowsing is another way. You can use, a pendulum and ask it questions. And dowsing rods, I have dowsing rods, and I've used them to find water leaks on the property here. I've used them on maps to find where people should drill a well for water. All right. And I also use them in classes to show people how big their energy field is. And then to show them what happens. And I ask them, okay, so I walk towards them. What happens with these dowsing rods is they swing way out as soon as I tap into their energy field. And then when I'm not in an energy field, they come right back together. Got it?
Okay.
And so what I used to do in classes is I'd say, okay, I want you to think that you're sitting down right now and preparing your taxes. And I would walk up within 2 inches of them. Their energy field would be sucked in that much, right? Then I'd say, okay, now I want you to think of something you really love. It could be a person, an activity, whatever it is. I would have to back out of the house to get out of their energy field.
Jeez.
Okay?
Wow.
Then I used to show them, now watch this. If I got behind them, the energy field was much closer to their body than it was in front of them. So I talk about the heart and the lungs and that aspect. But I also told them that's why you have to protect the back of you. It's the back of you. You always have to protect. That's why people are always rubbing their neck, the back of their shoulders, because they're picking up directed energy from other things and other people.